Hello and welcome to another ARCHLine.XP live webinar. My name is Zoltán Tóth. Over here is our resident architect, Mr. Iglesbab.
Hi there.
Today we have an excellent product for you for your convenience, ARCHLine.XP Live. We are going to look at the latest features, including the best tricks and tips for the efficient workflow. So lots to do. Let's take a look. So first of all, Iglesbab, can you tell us a couple of words what ARCHLine.XP Live actually is?
It is a visual design archviz software which you can use for better representing in real time your models, fill it up with live, and also add design elements, details, decorations, and finally create images, also video files, and we will show you a new feature with the Panoramic 360. And those are all part of the package. So should you have ARCHLine.XP or you have another software that allows you to export OBJ files or FBX files, you can start working in ARCHLine.
I understand there's a new version coming out.
Yes, the new version is next week, in the middle of next week, we will release it. So keep watching our news feed and you will be informed about the download link, and also Live will prompt you a message that there's a new version. And when you download the new version, and if you use ARCHLine.XP, the design software itself, then update that as well, because the latest ARCHLine and the latest Live will communicate the best always. So that's what also you need to do.
How are you going to show us what ARCHLine.XP Live has to offer?
Well, now we will show you a model. I actually loaded a final version of this model, which we are trying to achieve today. This is where we will get to by the end of today's session. And what I will do, I will use ARCHLine as the host modeler, as the BIM software, where we already have this model, and we will actually just highlight the most important things before we extract this data and start visualizing in live. And we will cover the whole workflow. We will go from the start till the end, and during this workflow we will also cover all the new features that were previously announced, and all the new features that we promised to show you today. Just to highlight the most important for today's session, which is a new feature compared to the previous release that will be at the end of the show, and it is the Panoramic 360 ability of the software.
That's right. And as always, since this is a live show, you have the benefit of asking questions live on the right-hand side.
There.
So if you have anything that you want to ask about what you are seeing right now, or you feel there's something that we should talk more about, then that's where you can ask your questions. And now over to Iles. How do we get started? What's the first step? I mean, this is obviously the end result, so that's what we want to achieve, but how do we get here?
Well, let me close this, because first we will start in ARCHLine. So I will just quickly go and I just close that and go back to ARCHLine. So this is actually the pure architectural model with a little bit of the surrounding. Let me just zoom out a little bit to show you what we actually have here. So see, there is quite a few roads and a little bit of the land and some of the buildings, but besides that, it's walls, slabs, the building itself, and some of the interior. So this is a combination of interior and an exterior, an architectural project as well. So this is what we have here. We could add any more details like cars and everything like that, but sometimes it's just not necessarily part of the design itself. I mean, when I would like to create drawings, I do not necessarily need them. I need them for the visual part, so I will add them later. In ARCHLine.XP Live, it has a great library of detailed items. So now focus on what we have here. We have the building, we have all the 3D, and it's important that when I communicate with Live, whatever I see, whatever I actually have in this model, even those things that are hidden and I can't see them, those will be added, those will be exported and imported in the ARCHLine.XP Live archviz software. All the lights, all the materials, all the surrounding, I mean the settings for the north direction and the sunlight. So let's cover where those are and how to set them.
That's right. So you mentioned that everything is going to be stored in one single project file.
Yes.
That's the concept of the Beam workflow. But how do we check the individual parts that we are going to export?
I think let's just start with the materials first. Materials make everything, so let's just start with those besides lights. So if I would like to check what sort of material I have on the surface, one of the easiest way is to right click there and click on Find Material, and then I can see its name, its properties. For me now, the most important is that I already sorted these materials into render styles, into categories. This is a wall. I also made the same thing with the ceiling. I did the same thing with metal parts, glass parts, and also at the background I added something like a water surface. This actually here, if I just right click and use the Find Material pattern, it is actually set up to be a water. Setting up render styles in ARCHLine is very, very simple. All you need to do is to go to the home page of this design center, and there are the render styles, and you just click and drag and define whether, for example, this here should be something like a chrome-like surface. So then I just try to find a chrome. I release it here and I click on the surface, and then it will be treated as chrome. It won't change its material, it won't change its fabric, it won't change its texture. It will only change its physical appearance, how it reflects, or even if it's not reflective or it's transparent. All those render styles are for that.
Understand. What's the next step?
So that's about materials. Obviously, geometry is something of a thing that we should think of. I mean, it should be detailed enough to be okay for a visual design. That is another thing. Also about lights. Let's start with the biggest light source we could have. That's the sunlight. If we have the sunlight set up, or if you want to set up the sunlight, we can go to the view menu and use the shadow simulation. This is one of the ways to do that, and we can set up the proper location, the time and the date, and also compare to and in parallel with the north setting and the geolocation setting of this building. Those will make up the lighting system behave as it's supposed to be.
So we have the 3D, we have the materials, and we have the light sources. What else?
Well, perspective views, for example. During designing this model, I already added a few views, and this is very likely to do because it is very easy to communicate that way. And when you would like to find all your views, you can either click on this little perspective eye, or you can click here in the 3D. You can use this button to click on that. That both brings up the perspective dialog, where you can actually add and save your views. Those are all named according to the order that I would like to represent here. So ARCHLine will automatically organize your views in an alphabetic order. So that's why I usually use numbers at the beginning. So it starts with the street view. I also have an entrance view and so on. And if I would like to just quickly jump through all these views, I can also use the quick jump list to jump to the entrance view, or I can use the navigation buttons like this up and down arrows to go through my design and check what I have here. So all these views are stored here, and those will take an important part in the design process in ARCHLine.XP Live as well.
Looks like we have all the components needed. So now what comes next? How do we import this model?
Well, one thing I did not mention, when we were inside, I wanted to highlight that actually those are lamps there, but not just the shaders. I mean, not just the lamp shade and the lamp fixture, but it also contains a light source, at least one. So these behave and lit up the interior just as a real light source would. So we expect those light sources to be seen in the 3D environment when we visualize the model.
Now comes the export, I think.
Yes. So when we would like to export this model, we use the view and rendering and ARCHLine.XP Live. So this is what I will click on now, and there's a message, because sometimes, you know, when you have a complex model, this is a mediocre complex model, not that much complex, but not a very simple one. It will take a while until it processes the model. Now, for the first step ARCHLine does, it's generating the model. It's just making a package for ARCHLine.XP Live, and then it starts ARCHLine.XP Live. I just closed that before. It starts itself, and you will see a message coming up that the model itself is actually loading.
While it's actually loading, I think we can show a couple of images of other works
Yes.
that were submitted, because now that ARCHLine is being used in many countries by many clients that we have a couple of reference projects that we can show you to just give you a glimpse at what ARCHLine.XP Live is able to do. Maybe we can open them and talk about this. So
yes.
This, for instance, came from Germany. It's a vineyard. And also it is the same thing from another perspective. And I think you are getting what ARCHLine.XP Live is supposed to make easier, namely the environment. So that's what ARCHLine.XP Live is all about, to make the environment
And I would say details.
Yes.
Not just the environment, because when we are inside, the same thing applies for the interior.
This is where we are going to get to. That's another interior project. That's something that we should never forget, that Live is optimized for architectural and interior design projects as well. We are going to talk about in details how that could be done. Outside, inside, the point is that you have more depth and more details to your projects.
Yes, and a very interesting thing, a very important thing to talk about, these images took only a second to generate.
As you will see in a second, yes.
And as you will see, so no matter how detailed your model is, the software will generate those images in a second. That's and right. You will be able to update those images. Well, when you change the design, when you move things around and you would like to create a new render, say, then it will take another second just to create the full image. You don't have to wait that long. And this is one very powerful thing in ARCHLine.XP Live. And let's see how that works in an actual workflow.
And see.
Okay, so now we have this, I will just keep it in the background. So now we have this model. We were at the backyard, so that's why we see that. Let's just go back to the street view. So this is how we left off in ARCHLine, and this is how it looks by default. I did not do anything, I just visualized the model, and now I already have all those views that we talked about, the dining, the kitchen, and also some of the backyard, for example, and the staircase and so on. Let me just go back and try to find any of those. These are all my views.
You said something about that images are made instantly. What does that mean?
This means that these are not only views that I can select from and start using them during my work, but when I click here on this little folder icon, I can actually open up a file manager, and in the file manager, all those are real existing images. I mean, these are PNG files or JPEG files that I can actually send to my clients already. So even if I just started to visualize, but I have a prompt question that they would like to see anything, how it looks like, I had nothing to do with the result. I just simply export. I just started working with that, and those images are already there.
So we talked about how perspectives transfer from ARCHLine to Live. What about materials? So how do we access them? And
about the materials. A good example, what we see just right in front of us now. This is the pool. As you remember, we instructed the pool surface to be water in ARCHLine, and now Live understands that this is a water surface, so it should be filled with a real and living water surface. Now, a quick note here: should you experience any lagging during this show, it is because of the stream is not getting enough FPS during the show, but when you work with the software, you have a full fluid environment that you can work in. So, and also about the material, you remember I told the software this to be chromatic, and this is why we can see a chrome surface here. And all the same applies everywhere around. So if I go to the, for example, let's go to the street view and find those walls. If I select this wall, and if I would like to understand what sort of material I have there, I need to turn on the Edit Materials panel here, and I can see that's a wall. This is actually a metal surface, and so on. So this is how I can check what those are. I can also change them. So if I would like to select this and make it a little bit more brighter, a little bit darker, see, this is how automatically the software reflects those changes, and I don't have to wait for the image to be rendered again. Reflection is also something that I can change. Roughness, bump map, we will talk about those a little bit later. So this is how it works.
How about lamps and light sources? You said that these are something again that will import. So how do we access them?
Yes, as you can see, lamps are already over there. We will talk about how to handle lights and how to handle lamps, but just to have a quick glimpse, a quick overview how that works. When I select this lamp and I go to the second of these triplet here, which is the added lamps. I can actually turn on or off. I can change the intensity. We will get back to this feature. So all those lights that I built into my design in ARCHLine, those are already here, living and filling up my model with light. And that's the same thing that I will find when I'm inside. When I go inside the model, this is the same thing that I can see here.
What happens if you have already defined an animation path in ARCHLine? How do you access that?
Yeah, we did not talk about that, but ARCHLine.XP itself allows you to add details like an animation path. Let me just go back to ARCHLine. So when in ARCHLine, you can create a Panoramic 360 by adding a camera. And you can also add animation, which is an animation path that you can design in ARCHLine. Now, both things I can show you here on the 2D. I actually created an animation path, and there is a camera here, which is for the 360 panoramic view. So let me just go back and see how I can find those here. The camera icon. That is for the animation. So this is what I see. Now ARCHLine, ARCHLine.XP Live quickly generated these preview images for those thumbnails, so I can understand on which stages the animation go through. So when I click here to play that, I actually play the same animation that I had in ARCHLine. The big difference here is that in ARCHLine, the quality, the animation itself is drawn. It is like a line drawing with texture and colors. Here it is a bit more realistic with all the reflections, the sky around, and all the changes that I will make at the end. I can already generate a video file in a few seconds, and the software will generate one AVI file that I can actually send already or upload to my drive or share via Facebook or something like that. But we will come back to this later when I actually filled up the model with a little bit more details.
But you did mention something about the panorama.
And the panorama, it's here. This is the 360 panorama. I added a camera to be able to create the 360 panoramic image around this point of view. So if let me just quickly create that so you will understand what we will enhance at the end. So when I just push this button, ARCHLine.XP already is able to generate a Panoramic 360 that I can send to my clients, and they only need a browser to be able to work with that. It opens automatically in my browser. So this is what they get. This is the same way they can handle the content. So even if it's not finished, it's still not featuring all the details that I'm willing to add to this detail. It is already quite convincing that it took only a few seconds and I have something like a semi interactive content that I can share with my clients.
That's right. Now,
so let's add some details.
Yes, because the point of live is that you shouldn't stop here. You should add more details and add more depth. So how do we do that?
Okay, so let's just go back to one of my previous views, like for example the street view. Now I will work with the interior and the exterior as well. And one thing that we did not mention, but I will use later, and that is the sunlight itself. So we talked about the light sources, the artificial light sources, but sunlight is also an important thing. I actually set up the sunlight, and that now I can just change the light source settings if I want. Later I would like to create a night scenery, so I will change this according to my needs. So let's go back to my views. I'm at the street view, and I would like to add details. We started with the materials, so yes. I think let's
continue with that.
Continue with the materials here. In the libraries of ARCHLine.XP Live, you will find a few default libraries. I actually created a new library. We will talk about that as well. But the default libraries is the effects, the lights, the materials, and the objects. So if I go to the materials, you will see that I already have a built-in library in ARCHLine, which consists of environment materials, wood materials, and so on. So when I would like to use something here, like for example on the asphalt material on this surface, or for example a concrete pavement over here, I can just click and drag and see those are very nice, high detailed materials. If I just would like to do the same thing around here, this is kind of a pavement, so I should look for them in the stone flooring, for example. And let's just add this here. Oh, not that bad, but I actually want to add another thing like this. Or the cobblestone, yeah, this is even better. So as you can see, those materials are very, very detailed, even 3D-like, even those are just materials. We will see another example when it shows its real face very nicely. So this is how you can add those materials. And also there is an important thing that if you have this material applied, I mean, onto really many surfaces around, you don't have to change the material on surfaces one by one, but there is this option to use these in kind of an all instances mode. That means actually this surface and this surface has the same material. So if I would like to apply this same material onto all of these, I can just click and drag. Keep that in mind that I enable the all instances mode, so I just release it over there, and so it treats them as one surface, as one material, so it changes everywhere. And the same way I can change the, for example, this metal surface here, and I will just test a little bit of the the glass surfaces as well. So I can just go with this, or with a little bit darker tone. Yeah, I think that's too dark, but in some cases I would use those. And let's just go with the clear material with this one. And also the same thing goes with the metal. Let's just apply something like this over here. It's a bit better, but let's just make it a little bit darker. So this is how I do that. I just quickly exchange materials. And yes, talking about the materials, there's one another thing that I used to change here. See, now I have a very large ground with a green material, and when I like to change it to be a ground grass, using this option, I can change it everywhere. So now I have something like that.
Speaking of grass, I think the next thing that we should be talking about is the foliage.
Okay.
Bushes, trees, and
yeah, okay.
other things. So how do we add them?
Okay, those things are actually, you can add them two ways. One is to think of them as objects, like an individual tree one by one. For example, I would like to add the tree over there. So I go to the objects and I try to find one in the trees. And there is, for example, this one that I would like to place here. It's nice. See, it's even moving, so it's really a living tree blown by the wind. So I just would like to add a few more. So I can just keep adding them from here. But another thing that I can do is I can just simply select it. And I can use the copy keyword, the Control-C on the keyboard. This is the generic command for copy content. Control-C. And then I move my mouse to the place where I would like to paste that content, and I use the paste key shortcut, which is the Control-V. See, now I can just go around and keep adding those details one by one. Now, when sometimes you could see that something happened here. Now, ARCHLine also has an autosave system, which is not saving your project. It is for an automatic recovery backup. So when the unexpected happens, for example, your computer suddenly stops working, this automatic recovery will try to at least go back to the latest stage where it was saved. But when you would like to save your project, you should always click on the save button to be able to save it, so you have the live file. So now that's what I did here.
Here's an interesting question. If you look at the two trees on the left-hand side, if you just keep continuing to duplicate your elements, then the site is going to be quite artificial. So is there any way to randomize assortment of plants and foliage to sort of give a more natural feel?
Yeah, that is why we have, now for example, let's just start from here. I could combine these things. I could just use another one, add it over there and so on. But that's just as you told, it's tedious. It can take a while I can add these, but I have large areas that I would like to populate with these things around, so I don't want to do them one by one. I just would like to set up a rule that is allow me to populate large areas with those items, and that's why we have this foliage painter here. Now the foliage painter, as you can see, it has this nice brush here, and let's just start first here. We will populate this area first. And this actually comes with a little tray at the bottom with possibilities. With an eraser, we will use that later. Let's just start turning this into a grass field, changing its radius to be a little bit larger, and then just paint this area. Yeah, I have this dialed down, so I have something like that, and let's just populate this area. See, this is how it's like a paintbrush, literally. You I'm just keep holding my left mouse button, and I just really, you know, painting this area with real 3D grass.
Isn't it going to be too heavy on the computer?
It could if you populate the model with too many items, but this is handled quite well. And if you just overpaint an area like I did here now, no worries. You can use the eraser, this here. You can change the brush radius if you would like to, because now I just would like to erase things from this little pavement here. So this is what I do. And from over there and from neat. Over there. So this is how you can do it. So a few steps and you have a nice 3D grass ground, which is actually also blown in the wind, as you can see. So this is how you can populate it. And there are also other brushes. You can actually customize the brush for yourself. There's, for example, one with the bushes. So if I just use this one with a smaller radius, like this here, I can add patches of bushes over here, for example, and for example over there a little bit, and perhaps around the edge. So this is how I can easily populate. And we also have groves, like this small grove. And if I would like to use that, apply it over there on the right hand side, I just change the radius a little bit, and let's just have a bird's eye view around this surface, and let's just populate it with those things over there. And there is also something, we call it trees, a very simple thing. It is a mixture of several different trees, which I can also customize. I already told you that I can customize. So if I would like to add, for example, like a populace here, I just click and drag it over there. So now when I paint this area, it also features several different items.
It gives a more natural feel.
There was a tiny populace over there, and perhaps over there as well. So it has a sort of random effect with all the details everywhere around. Just to have another thing here, I mean, I will just quickly paint a patch over there, and I will paint a patch over here as well. And still, well, while I have this thing over here, I can also go back to the regular mode. If I close this little painter, this foliage painter, I can use these items like original regular things. So I just add them manually, and I can also add like, for example, a sakura, for example, over there, and so on. So this is how I do that. And as you can see, all the foliage, all the trees, all the content is living, and it has all the details that I wanted to add over there, for example.
Do you have hedges?
Hedges, yeah, I have. I think that is something that belongs to the surrounding of the building. So I will just select this item. This is actually where I would like to place it. So I select that item and I push the F button for focus. Now this will zoom onto that item. This is good for many reasons. Now I wanted to quickly jump here to be able to customize this. Actually, I would like to remove that. So actually you can remove parts of the imported model. And I would like to exchange that with a series of hedges. So if I would like to find the hedge, I can find it in the libraries, but now I don't remember where it is. So I can use this search field, which is, let's just type hedge, and that's the hedges over there. So I just click and drag it over there, and
How do you turn it?
And I can use the movement, I can use the rotation, and I can use the scale button to customize it. Now, all those things are actually having a shortcut key as well. And that's at the bottom of this little description. See, number 2 at the bottom describes it is number 1, 2, 3. Those are the hotkeys for the movement, rotation, and the scaling. So I just hit number 2. This is for the rotation. Let's just rotate it around nicely. And I think this is what I wanted. And then I use number 1 to use it. And an important thing with these, what we call them gizmos, these are actually having sensitive areas, like this arrowhead, the other arrowhead, the other arrowhead, all the 3 main axes. but there is also a connector between those axes. So if I would like to move it on this ground, I can just hold my mouse over there and I can move it horizontally on this plane. And let's just paste it over there, for example.
How can you duplicate this hatch because you want to make it longer?
One thing is that I can use the Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V shortcuts, but there is also another one, which is the Ctrl-D for duplicate. So I just select one thing, or I can select multiple things and Ctrl-D. That duplicates the object, so I can select it and I can just move it over there. For example, let's just connect them a bit like that, for example. And now if I click to the side, I think it's nice. This is what I wanted.
What other effects do you have to make it more lifelike? I mean, this corner is getting along nicely, so maybe we could look at that part over there. We could add some extra details.
Yeah, let's go to the backyard, because now this could be also a fireplace inside the building, or candles or something like that. Those really need the light, the fire in them. So what I do, I just use the effects. We have a separate library for the effects, and there are several size of fire, for example. And this is really not just a visual effect, but it really behaves as a light source as well. So if I just turn down the light source, and let's just have a view like this, where we can actually see the surrounding as well. So I just select that and I dial down the sun somewhere around very, very early, like this. See, it actually lights up this surrounding a little bit, and this is having a very nice effect around. So this is what I do with all these effects. Now I don't have anything to attach a smoke or steam to, or candle fire, but those things are also something that I could use nicely.
What other elements can you use to make this a bit more lifelike scene?
What exactly you mean?
I'm talking about cars and...
Yeah. About cars and humans, those are also objects. Objects are a collection of things that you can actually extend. You can extend this library with your own items, which we will show soon. But let's just start with the basic library. Now, in case of cars, I just go here and find any of those that I like. I really like that red sedan, so I just place it over there. See, it snaps automatically to that surface where I dragged it. And then I can use the same thing. I can just select it, and I can use the 1, 2, 3 key shortcuts to be able to rotate it around, or move it around, or place it the way I want it. So like something like this. And I can also change its position by moving it by using the number 1 key. And also I can, if it is necessary.
Are now floating, so how do you adjust that?
You're right. So in that case, I just use the number 2 key, which is again I'm talking about these 3 icons. So you can just tilt it a little bit. I think it's a bit too much, like this one, and then I just use again number 1, which is for the movement, and I change its position like that. And about humans, now it's time to populate the area with humans. I just go to the humans library. Now let's just use, I think it would be nice to have a lady with a child over there. They're just starting to go to the kindergarten, for example, and there is Nathan coming on the street. So you can just
rotate him, so
click and rotate and place them anywhere you want them. There's a very nice detailed objects. Those are actually scanned people from 3D people, and those are very nice to populate the surrounding. And the same thing applies for smaller details, like for the interior parts, like plants and
you did mention that you are going to show us a couple of examples for the same workflow in the interior scene. So what did you mean when you said that?
Yeah, well, let's jump in. Let's just start first again with the material. So I can change the material of this table. I can change the material of the floor. I can go to the material library and I can find the for example, the wood material, and there is this, for example, the mahogany, which is a bit darker. If I like that, I can keep that, or I can go with another one. This is how easily you can change the material over there. And also the same way you can change the floor. Now this is a wooden floor, so I would find it in the flooring. And those are also nice detailed floorings. If I use this here, you can even see the scratches on the surface. This is the same good quality material that we saw outside with the cobblestone pavement. Those are all the built-in materials are very high quality, very detailed materials that you can use everywhere in the model. So this is how you can do that. And we talked about the backyard previously. We will come back into this interior soon. But talking about the materials, I did not change the backyard. I mean, there's the water itself. You can go with the default water if you like, but there's also a selection of water materials here. You can go with the something that looks a bit deeper, or you can go with the clean water, or the even better, the water for the pools. And this is how you can change that material. Those are all living, moving material surfaces. So let's just go back to the
Yes, let's
interior.
jump inside and let's talk about, because outside we talk about foliage, but in the inside we should have some flowers and plants and something which makes it a bit more vivid. So what kind of elements can we add?
Those are also objects, but in that case, I would find them in the decoration library here. And the decoration contains mostly decorative flowers and tiny details. So I just add this here. It goes the same way, and it is also very nice and detailed. So you can see it over there. And let's just move it over here and add another one. For example, this hot leaf here, and this other one with the philodendron over there. That is a popular plant nowadays, so I use that.
We will return to this to talk about lamps, but before we do that, problem is that ARCHLine.XP Live does come with its own library, but obviously the world is much bigger than that, and we don't want to fill up the program with many items. What happens if there's something that you like and you want to have it in the software? Let's say you already imported the model from ARCHLine, but there's something extra that you want to bring in from an external source. What kind of options do you have?
Okay, for that, I actually have something prepared, and I will use this street view. I will add a lamp over there, like a little garden lamp appearing here at the left-hand side. To be able to do that, I have two options. One is to directly import an OBJ or an FBX file. I will show you that as well at the end. But if you already have ARCHLine.XP itself, I mean the design software, not only live, in that case you can directly send any of your objects from ARCHLine.XP to ARCHLine.XP Live. Let's see how that works. So let's just go back and open up ARCHLine itself. And then now actually here I have something called, I actually already downloaded something from the Google 3D Warehouse. You can go online and you can find objects here in the Google 3D Warehouse or any other places to extend the libraries in ARCHLine. I just Googled for a small garden lamp and I downloaded it. I already did it, so I already have it in my objects library here. I don't remember exactly where I saved it, so I just search for small garden lamp, and that's it. And because it contained the word lamp, ARCHLine.XP automatically suspected that this should be something with a light source, so it automatically added the light source. By default, ARCHLine adds the light sources at the bottom of this lamp. I did not change it intentionally, so I can show you how to fix something like this inside ARCHLine.XP Live. But the point here is that when you have a lamp with light sources, not just the model itself, but the lights as well, you can send to ARCHLine.XP Live. The solution is very simple. You select anything that you would like to send over to ARCHLine.XP Live, and then use this little cogwheel icon and use the export to live option. Now it transferred already, and when I go back to ARCHLine.XP Live, I will be able to find something like the imported objects library. This is what I have here. I actually already imported several objects here to be able to start with. And there is this small garden object, which just came through this little, what we call it, a bridge between ARCHLine.XP and ARCHLine.XP Live. So we have this small garden lamp. And so when I would like to use it, I just quickly click and drag and place it somewhere here at the garden side. And as you can see,
what's wrong with the light?
Yeah, there's something with the light. This is the thing that I mentioned, that I forgot to fix this lamp in ARCHLine, but it's not a problem. Even if you have something like this and you realize it a little bit later, you can fix it in ARCHLine.XP Live as well. So you have a lamp with a light source at the bottom, and you would like to fix that, how that goes. To be able to better visualize what we do here, I am actually setting up a darker scene with something like this, so we can easily see how that works. So now I have this problem with the light source. To be able to work with light sources, we already know that there is this edit lamp. When you select the lamp, you can edit the lamp and you can edit the light sources themselves. You can move, rotate in some cases, and also you can scale not just the lamp, but you can do the same thing with light sources. So now I have this light source selected, because I enabled this option. So this is why when I move this little arrowhead, not the lamp, but the light source itself starts moving. So I move it inside the center of this little, what we call a shader or something like that. And now we can see that the lamp, the light source is coming from that source. But there is one thing that I would like to change, is the fact that I cannot see that it is really coming from this part, because the material is also faulty. I did not set up in ARCHLine that this should be a glass surface. So if I would like to fix that, I just go to the edit materials. I try to select this little red or orange-like material, and this is the light 2 material, and I have two options. I can either make it an emissive material, which gives a little bit of a glow to this material. I can change its brightness, but even better, in this specific case, I can change it to a glass surface, which is even better. And then now if I go back to the light source itself, I can change its color. ARCHLine.XP Live features the same exact color library that ARCHLine.XP, the design software itself, on its own. So you can go to any of those libraries, or you can even bake a light color for yourself. Let's just try to find something like the original was. And when I do that, see now the light source color changes, and it brights up the interior of this lamp nicely. So now I can move this lamp around. I can just place it somewhere else if I don't like the position. This is the whole thing. This is the whole idea behind that. When you would like to add new objects to the libraries, to the library of ARCHLine.XP Live, you can do it one way via the design center of ARCHLine.XP, and the same way you can actually bring in new materials as well. You can actually create new materials in Live. But to get to the end, to the object import possibilities as well, I would like to show you one more thing to close this topic with the objects. And that is the direct import. When you have something like this, let me just create a folder, for example, here. Let me just add the new folder. And this is a folder for my objects, for example. Yep. So into this folder, I can place or import anything. I can create. This is where I can store my things once I imported them into, for example, into the imported objects library. So how do things get to imported objects, and how do I move them to my objects? If I go to the file menu and I use the import option, I can select anything. Now this is actually a building, which is also a good thing. You can also import complete buildings, but should this be a bench, or should this be anything else, you can go there and try to find that. And when you find that object that you like, you can just click on open, and then the software visualizes a preview. You can change its orientation, and you can decide what to do with that. I actually imported this already into my library, so I click on cancel. And I can see that I have this imported object here in the library. I can rename it if I like, but most importantly, this has a 3D body that I like. Let's just change the light source. Let it be something during daytime. And then now I just select it, rotate it, and I can also, and this is also something that I wanted to show, I can also customize it, because sometimes it's just not coming with the materials. This object was not saved with its original materials. So this behaves the same way. I can just go to the material libraries. Let's just quickly find a wood surface, like for example this oak surface. Yeah, there is also something like this here, which should be this. I think white is okay with that, but there is a metal surface over here. So I would like to apply steel over here, and that's nice. So this is how I have this bench over here. And now equipped with all these materials, I can move it around. So the same way you can bring in any other objects that you can find in OBJ or FBX file formats.
You did briefly mention about creating materials in Live. How do you do that?
Yeah, if you would like to create a new material on your own, you can go to any of your libraries, let's just rename it to my materials, for example. Materials. Yeah, and into my materials library, I would like to create a new material. I use this little create a new item button here. And this brings up the material properties dialog, where I can either choose a color from the color libraries, or I can go with the texture-based material. And with that one, I can go into my libraries. I actually previously downloaded the surface, which looks like. Let me just select it. It looks like this. It's a pattern for a white wall surface which is painted. So I just select this one and I click OK, open, and then now I can also set up the material settings, but when I click OK, it actually creates itself. I can just rename it. This should be something like white wall painted or something like that. And then when I apply this material over to the fence, for example, to here, I just click and drag and release, and now it's applied. And now it's applied all around everywhere else because I used that same material around.
But it's reflective, so how do we change that?
Yeah, it's because I did not set up the reflectivity. So when I click here, I can just select the material itself, and I can change its brightness, I can change its reflection, and I can change its roughness to make it a little bit more realistic. And then now if I change the light, it behaves around like this one. Yeah, and change the date as well. See, now when it comes into light, I think we should see on the other side.
Yes.
Yeah, and then now it is nice bright on the other side while it gets light source. I mean, real light.
Perfect. So that's how you add additional elements to your library.
Yes.
And we did promise that we are going to keep on talking about the light sources inside. So I think now's the time to go back to the lights and talk about how the lamps look like and how you can modify them. So what's the deal with the lights?
Yeah, so about just a quick course about lamps and how to handle them. When you import something from ARCHLine and those already have lights, ARCHLine.XP Live will treat them as lamps, and then you can just simply select them and you can just go and edit their properties. You can turn them on or off. You can change its intensity and its color. The same thing applies whether this is an interior or an exterior light source. When I go inside and find this other lamp above the table, the same applies here. When I select it, I can even move the lamp light source inside. I can change the intensity and I can change the color. Let's just make it a little bit more kind of a warmer tone like that. And also I can turn it into a real light. Now in this case it's an important topic to talk about because most cases ARCHLine.XP, when it generates the live model, it will treat all the light sources as helper lights. And the reason behind that is those are cheap to calculate, those are easier to calculate, those are not stressing your GPU too much. And then when you have a light source that has a specific feature like this one, for example here, then you can decide to turn the real light effect on, and in that case you will have real cast shadows. You will have real cast shadows not only on the walls but also with the object. So that is a little bit more realistic, but you should not turn all the light sources to real lights, only those that have a very important visual effect on your drawing to keep the cost of the calculations low. I mean, in that case, you will have a nice and fluent workflow.
I think that applies to everything. Just furnish and elaborate those things which are in focal points.
Yes, and also just imagine that if this light source, this lamp, would not have any light source inside, then ARCHLine.XP Live already have a built-in lighting library with two basic lights. One is a spherical light which you can add inside, and there is another one with a small spotlight, and those are also something that you can easily add to the surfaces. And you can move around, but this actually has, so I can just turn it on or off. And there's one another thing that I wanted to show you, and this is the final page here, and that's for the light manager. Now in this case, when I turn this off, for example, we will see that there will be a light source here which is actually turned off. This is the compact light source for this one. An important thing here is you can enable or disable all the light sources using this navigator, and you can also use this to find what light source contains and what and where they are attached to. So if I'm curious what this light source is attached to. Actually, I just click on it and then the software highlights that object which it is attached to.
And now we are getting closer to the end result, which is the exports. And let's talk about, there are three kinds of exports as we have established before.
Yeah, that's right.
The snapshot, animation, and the Panorama 360.
Yeah.
Let's start with the snapshots, because in the beginning we made a few, and you said that we could be emailing these to our clients, but now the plan has updated. So how do we update and refresh the images that we created?
Yes, if I would like to update this specific view, which when it was first generated, it was not populated, it was an empty street without ladies and children and cars and other details. So if I would like to update this snapshot with this specific content, I just select it and I click on update. This is creating the shot, and now it's updated, and at the same time this is also updated on my hard drive. So if I would like to send this to my client, I can do that. It took only literally a second to create this image. Talking about that, how we can create an image and what the size of an image is, it is worth mentioning that ARCHLine.XP Live has an options menu here. I mean, an options dialog, and here you can not just set up the the interface and how the navigation works, but also there is the snapshot and animation setting here, and this is where you can actually set up the resolution for the snapshots and also for the animations, the output, how detailed in resolution it should be. So this is where you can change it. This is also where you can set up the working folder, but your default working folder. And this is also where you can set up auto recovery and backup archive settings. So this is where you can do that. So if I would like to update these, I can do that by selecting them and updating it. If I would like to add a new view, like I actually created a nice grove in front of the building, and from that point of view, I just would like to create a new overview of this building featuring all my new things that I added here, like this here. So if I would like to do that, I can add this new view into this list. I just click here, and then now the software jumps to the end. It names it view O. I can rename it. And then this is also already an image on my hard drive that I can send over to my clients, and this is how it was done.
Let's now talk about animations. In the beginning, you showed us that the animation path that you defined in ARCHLine could be exported, and that's something that we could be doing. But how do we create an additional animation path, something that we make over here? Because sometimes when we already elaborated the plan, we decided maybe a different approach would be better. Yeah. So how do we do that here?
Yeah, I think this is also a situation like that. That this animation, what I have created, it's okay, but perhaps I would like to create a new one from the pool. I would like to create a view panning on the street in front of the house. So if I would like to add the new animation, I just click on this little plus at the beginning of the animation tray. It appears here at the left-hand side. So when I click there, the software automatically adds a new position. This is what we call a keyframe. So you can decide where this keyframe is looking to. So let's just try to add a very simple animation, which will pan from the left side of the street up until, for example, that tree over there. So let's just add the first view here. I actually already added one, but now I would like to update that. So I click here, and then I move my mouse to the following position. It should be this here. And then I add the new frame. See, it's the second frame here. I will add a third frame, and let's just add a fourth one over here, like that. And now the software recognized and saved all those views. And it also tells me that this will be a 3-second animation. Let's just play that. We'll change it or not. I think it's a bit hasty. So
it's a bit fast.
Yeah,
so maybe you could slow it down.
If I would like to slow it down, I can change. This is the ending time. This is the full length of the animation. Yeah, and this is an important thing. You should save your project frequently. I did not save it for 30 minutes. So if you don't do that, please just click OK and save your work frequently. So now I save this this work, and then now I just jump back and use this little item here, and I change it to, let's just make it, for example, 9 seconds. That will be nice and slow animation. So now when I changed it, as you can see, all the frames are recalculated. So when I click here and I play it, it plays nice and slower. If I like that, I can keep that. If I don't, I can change it. And I can also change, for example, the last part from this one to this one, it took a little bit long. So if I just would like to shorten it to, I don't know, only 1 second, then I just change this here and I change the value of that one. See, in that case, only this one changed. Let's just play it from, for example, from here. Well, it was a bit
yes.
fast at the end, but this is how you can change them piece by piece as well. So this is how it works. You can also change the FPS of the output. You can rename your animation. This will be the default name when you save it on your hard drive. And you can also handle your animations. Should you have multiple animations, this is how you switch between those. And once you would like to publish them, once you would like to save them for your clients, you should only select the view and then click on this one to generate the animation. Now I will start it, so we will see how it works. It actually, as you can see, it goes very, very quickly through this animation, and it literally takes all the snapshots for this animation. And once this little slider goes till the end of this little slider, the timeline itself, then we already have the video file which we can
What is the output
publish.
format?
It's a classic AVI video file which should be able to be played around all the smart TVs or the computers and so on. But if you just upload it to, for example, to your YouTube account, then you can make it even simpler. You can just share the link with your customers and they don't even have to have your file.
An interesting thing that you mentioned in previous shows, that instead of making one long continuous video that would show the property inside and outside, it's better practice to have multiple short videos that you can edit together into one single movie. That just gives you a better understanding of the space.
Yeah, so this is the final output. This is the video itself with the resolution I have set up.
We could be fine-tuning it a little bit, to be honest, but that's just the concept.
And one thing about the animations, I would not encourage anyone to create very, very long video walkthroughs with one single animation path, because first things first, it will be difficult to handle, and second, it will be not that much interesting for the viewer.
It would be very boring.
So what I always recommend is to create small pieces and use a free video editor, for example, to cut a video for yourself and then publish that if you would like to create longer shots.
And now let's go on to Panoramic 360, because that's the most recent and most exciting thing that we could show right now. You mentioned in the beginning that the panorama that you defined in ARCHLine can be imported here, and we already checked that, that's fine. How do you make it a bit more interesting? Maybe different stations?
Yeah, about this Panoramic 360. Panoramic 360 is not only one view that you can set up. It's actually allowing you to set up a chain of cameras that you can connect together and allow your viewers, allow your clients to have an interactive feeling inside the 3D model, even though they won't have the 3D model itself. They don't have to have ARCHLine.XP live on their computer. What they will only need is a simple browser, which everyone has. So they will be able to view this same content on their browsers, on their computer, or on their phones as well. So to create that, even if I wouldn't have anything here, I would be able to add new cameras to this Panorama 360 by using this button. So what I will do, I will just go around, turn around, and find another location for perhaps the other end of this room, like this one, for example, here. And then I will add a view which is looking to that direction by using this button here. So now I have the entrance, and now I have this camera 1. Let's just name camera 1 like to the pool or something like that. So now I have two views. How will be those two cameras connected? So first I add all my cameras, and then I can also update them. And then I can connect them using portals. Now this is where you add a portal. When you click on that, now to the selected camera, you can attach another camera from this list. Now I only have two, so it's a very simple choice. I just click here, and then now I need to click onto the surface, on any of those surfaces where I would like to place my portal. That will be an icon. So I click here. See, now I have this entrance living room portal here. So now if I click there, I jump to that other part, and when I
How do you
turn
go
around,
back?
then I can find that and I can jump back to that part. So this is obviously now we are inside live. We don't need that. We already have sophisticated tools to navigate through the model. But when we would like to publish this content to our clients in a viewer in a browser, we need all those connectors that they can find and they can easily click on those. So if I have these two, I can also generate the content using this generate Panorama 360 content. So it creates all the snapshots all around. It will take 6 images by camera by camera that the software actually generates, and then it will automatically sew them together in one single virtual view. And see, now this is what I have. I can look around, and now and let me highlight that now we are not in live. We are in a browser, so I can just look around. I have the same quality image. And then I can see that little tiny portal over there. So I can click to the pool. So we jump to the pool view. And this is what I have over there. See, with all the details. And if I would like to, I can also create an explorational view of my whole building with all the rooms. I only need to add more and more cameras and connect them through a portal. The software actually checks whether this Panoramic 360 walkthrough can be used. I mean, if it is somehow broken, you forgot to connect two cameras with a portal, for example, then the software will highlight and it will tell you that you should do something with this work yet to be able to publish to your clients. But after that, you will only have one single file, one single HTML file, and this when you send to your clients as an email attachment, or you can even build this into your homepage, then they can just click on it, and even on their phone they can look around and click onto that jump point to the portal to be able to explore the model without a modeler on their computer.
That's right. Thank you very much for this lovely quick tour of what the ARCHLine.XP Live has to offer. There's special focus on the new features. And that being said, there's quite a few questions coming in to the YouTube channel, but almost all of them are dealing with things that are coming up. So there are questions about if we can edit or add moving people, change the wind speed, IES slides. These are things that would be added as we proceed. Don't forget that Live is a fairly new product, and it's a very young product, and it's being developed quite rapidly. For instance, now we have the Panoramic 360, which we didn't have in previous releases. So this is something that you should be keeping an eye on to see how Live develops. But right now, what you have seen over here is based on which the renders were made, which I showed you in the beginning. So it would get you this, exactly what you see on the screen.
Yeah, so all the features guarantee that you will have a good quality series of images in seconds, literally. You will have all the animations in video files, which you can easily publish. You will be able to generate exterior or interior Panoramic 360 views connected to chain of cameras using a very easy and simple to follow workflow, and giving you a ready to use, ready to provide output for your clients. They don't need an extra software. All they need is their browser to be able to see all these, or when you share the video file, they only need a video player, or when you share the image, that is even simpler. One thing about the release, we mentioned that at the beginning, but to highlight it again, the new feature, all the new features that you saw here will come next Wednesday. We will also talk about that during the following show, and you should check your emails when you see that the new version is there. You should go ahead and download the new version of the ARCHLine.XP Live, and don't forget to upgrade your ARCHLine.XP itself, because that will be that will guarantee that you can also pass the Panoramic 360 content as well to ARCHLine.XP Live. But should you have forgotten that, you can also create a new one in ARCHLine.XP Live.
You did mention next show. Let's talk about what we are going to discuss. Everything about doors and windows. If you ever wanted to know how to add doors and windows and openings in ARCHLine.XP, then that will be the show to talk about that. So that will be next Wednesday at the usual time, 3 p.m. Thank you very much for your attention and attendance today. Let's hope that we are going to meet next Wednesday too. If you like this show, give it a thumbs up, like it, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And otherwise, see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.